Yeah, so one of the things that I've been reading about is the concept of um, cloud adoption, and I think most companies right now are past the adoption phase and really trying to identify how to assimilate the new technologies and the rapid pace of cloud evolution, and how some of those things will fit within the enterprise, and then processes to assimilate those so that they get implemented properly.
What I actually see as being a huge trend is kind of the thought of microservices. They're just very discrete, small pieces of software that are running in the cloud. Generally kind of the serverless architecture, so you're not having a whole fleet of servers managed. They're just bits of code running in the cloud. Kind of Amazon's kind of moving the bar forward with their introduction of AWS Lambda and the kind of accompanying API gateway. I see that as being a major game changer. I mean, the product isn't that old. I mean, it was introduced at reInvent last year. API Gateway was, I think, introduced at New York in July. So there's been a lot of innovation in a short period of time. And I think you're going to continue to see a heavy investment from AWS's side into those products. And you can build some phenomenal products for very cheap.
Out there is the concept of things that we've heard from other customers, and that is the quality of the cloud solutions being put forward, and the checks and balances that need to be put in place in order to ensure that you're leveraging the services correctly and as efficiently as possible.
Right. I mean, customers would never release code that was untested,
right,
but they release infrastructure that's untested constantly.
Correct.
I think if we're fully bought into this idea of infrastructure as code, QA has to be a much more integrated part of that process.
And processes around how to effectively test that and do regression tests as you do point releases of both infrastructure and the software that support that infrastructure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just a personal thought of mine is that immutable infrastructure is somewhat misunderstood. So a lot of clients that I've sort of gone and spoken with, might think that doing immutable infrastructure is about deploying Docker containers, or they might think that immutable infrastructure is just about building AMIs, when in fact it's really about, containing the state of an application or some service, at a certain point in time, and managing that state, in a really sort of atomic way. Immutable infrastructure has a huge advantage over deploying applications and deploying, infrastructure in sort of an inline or, what they call desired state conversions with tools like Salt or Chef. The main advantage being that, when you're changing things, live in production, you take on a lot of risk. The risk is, well, I assume that, my infrastructure as code or my configuration management tools, are good, or I assume that my people are perfect and can't sort of, inject mistakes into that. So immutable infrastructure sort of, removes a lot of that. So, as a whole, in terms of engineers, most engineers should probably be considering moving their deployment models to a more immutable model, to get more highly available infrastructure out of it.